When the judge said to Jimmy, "You're yellow, you're Chinese, you're Helen," what really shocked me was here is an English laws educated judge wearing a funny wig, basically stealing another culture, you could say, the British culture. I mean, that's what the US would say. And she's up there telling the guy, "You're Chinese." She's parroting a line of the CCP, which they tell Chinese all over the world. "You're Chinese, we own you." And I remember the conversation I had with Andrew Yang about 4 years ago, the guy who ran for president. And he made a comment. He said, "Well, I'm not always welcome in the Chinese community." And I asked him why. And he said, "Well, I'm a Chinese American. I view myself as American Chinese, and my kids and my family do." And I said, "Okay." And we didn't pursue beyond that. But I started watching him and I started seeing him. And when that judge said to Jimmy, "You're Chinese," I just saw everything inside Jimmy say, I'm not an individual to you. I am an individual. I'm a Hong Kong person. We are Hong Kong people. That's what I saw. And when Jimmy said that, he wasn't saying, "I'm not proud to be Chinese." Jimmy is very much proud to be Chinese. In fact, one of the biggest threats to the Chinese is Jimmy is truly a Chinese patriot. He really loves China. He's not one of these guys who, wants to be in the West all the time and wants to be a Westerner. He likes being Chinese. He likes being British Chinese is what he likes to be. But he doesn't buy into the idea that I am owned by the CCP and I am owned by Mother China. You couldn't say that to an American. You couldn't say something to somebody like, "You're an American. How can you do something like that?" Well, I'm an American. I have many different options in my life. Now, what she's saying is, and I think we all know what she's saying is, "You're Chinese, you do what you're told." That's what she was saying. People were saying to Jimmy, "You probably need to get out. You can be more effective from London." And Jimmy said, "No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay here. I am the one," he said, "I am one who believes in democracy for Hong Kong. I believe in the basic law. This is the whole point. I believe in the basic law." He also said, we won't know the results of what's going to happen with this national security law unless we stay here and we actually discover what they have in store for us. But the main reason Jimmy stayed was, he said, "I can't walk away from my people at Apple Daily and have them go to jail working for me." He said, "The captain of the ship goes down with the ship." And he said that a number of times to me. Jimmy Lai's resistance to the Chinese Communist Party was obvious from the time he was 12 years old and came across on the undercarriage of a boat, smuggled into Macau and then smuggled into Hong Kong. Jimmy ran from the communist system, and it was a system that he understood at that age. That was the bad guys. Those were the guys who did the evil things. They were the men who made his mother leave at night to go to work camps or do everything. Those were the men who killed people in Guangzhou. Those were the men that everybody was scared of. Jimmy's very well aware of that. He was very well aware. Jimmy's anti-communist streak, and it is, started as a boy. And it's not an angry streak. It's just he knows who the bad guys are. And that started very early for him. Jimmy's position on the Chinese Communist Party was cast in stone when he crossed over into Hong Kong, because he left the system where he was chasing birds to eat to a system where a lowly shop assistant took him to lunch for the greatest meal he'd ever have. And let me drive that home. When he was in China, his family, he grew up as a young boy. He thought his family was okay, and then the communists came in. His home was subdivided. He and his sisters got the upper left-hand part of the house. 3 other families moved in. So that's what happened with him. And then he arrives in Hong Kong and he doesn't know anything. Right away, within 12 hours, his aunt takes him. He says, look, I can't afford to feed you. This is Hong Kong at this point in time. You've got to earn some you got to earn some money. And so, Hong Kong in the late, I think 1960 or 1959. You got to earn some money. So she takes Jimmy to a factory. Guy looks at Jimmy, and Jimmy tells the story better than anybody. The guy said, well, we got to get you something to eat. Let's take you out and get you something to eat and clean you up a little bit. And he takes Jimmy, and Jimmy goes out, he smells all the food, and the guy pays for it. And then Jimmy thought to himself, not at the time, he said a few weeks later, he thought to himself, this guy's just a shop assistant. He's the assistant to the boss, and he eats better than the richest people in Guangzhou. Man, do I hate the communist. It's cast in stone.